Welcome, everybody.
Hey, we got
Welcome
a
back.
special one for you guys. At least
Well,
I
they're
think it's special.
they're all special in their own little ways, aren't
That's true.
they?
But we've been talking about doing an episode like this for a
We
really long
have,
time. Yeah,
have we? I feel like
from
maybe
like
you'd
the
have,
very beginning. I
you
think
have.
it
You've
was an
been
idea
wanting
from the
to.
very beginning.
You've been wanting to do this particularly for a long, long time. Oh, I'm adjusting my camera here. It's bugging me. I can't get my camera to lean to get to the. I'm sure people might have noticed, but like I'm always kind of slanted. It's because I cannot get my fucking the ring is like I don't know if I need to get Travis to see if there's anything we're missing here, like a knob I'm not seeing to twist to maybe stay keep this in place, but like it's always slanting to the right. So that's why I'm slanted. I can't get it to stay where it is. Comment below if you know what the problem is. Help me. Help
nothing,
me.
nothing, nothing. A little duct tape won't fix.
Okay, that's all right. Anyways, so yeah, welcome back to the CHG podcast, everybody. Well,
Yeah.
this is that's David over there or here, I don't know, and I'm RJ, and we talk all game stuff. But today we will not be talking about a game particularly, but something related nonetheless. This will be
Mhm.
a GameStop themed episode today. Um,
Yeah. Our
I
our
know
favorite our favorite game related
everyone's favorite,
realtor. Yeah,
everyone's favorite
everybody's.
game retailer.
Or
For those in
EB
the U.
games for you in the UK.
Yes. So I was going to say, for everyone in the U.S., GameStop, everyone probably has at least heard of GameStop. If you didn't before this year, you definitely heard about it this year because of the stonks.
Yeah.
So, but for everyone overseas, I believe it's EB Games
Yes, it
or
is.
well, they have EB Games still, but they also have another company called Game.co.uk or something like that. I don't know if that's just a online retailer for overseas, but that is a place where that's another big place to buy games over there.
Okay.
But anyways, um, yeah, GameStop's track record for the past decade and a half
Spin
has
bumpy.
hasn't yeah bumpy is a good word. That's a good word
Bumpy's a
at
good
best.
word.
Bumpy
Yeah.
at best.
Yeah.
Um, even when they were like if we're taking away off the public sphere, but just as a enterprise, even when they were doing good like 15 years ago, because they did, of course, they had a huge hot streak for a long, long time, partly because of it was basically a monopoly, and secondly because people were still buying games physically, and that was the order of the day. But even then, I'm sure internally investors were like asking, like, "So, what's your plan for the future?" And they were like, sell games physically still. So, but yeah, everyone knows what GameStop's turned into. They're basically like a collectible store where they have games on the side now. Uh, the amount of things that they said they're going to try and then either stopped or failed
Every
are
year.
the two I can think of at the top of my head. I remember they tried to do and maybe you might know some more info on this. Um, they wanted to convert some of their stores to like lounges to make them more communion areas
That is
instead of
not
just a,
dead
that's
yet.
not
At
dead.
least at
Okay.
least from what I know.
I haven't heard anything about it in a long time. And I was that was like the one thing I remember. And at first I kind of thought that was like I get the idea, right?
Mm,
Obviously, is to keep people in the store for longer, right? And to
mm.
create a community, right? People like communities, especially nowadays. People really like communities that they can feel a part of. And honestly, once upon a time, GameStop did feel like a community, depending on what store you went to.
It
Especially if
still
it was like a
does here and
smaller
there, but
store,
yeah.
sometimes, especially if you went to a smaller store where you
Yeah.
had your regulars, and if you have good employees, have good relationships, yeah, it can feel like like a good community sometimes. I remember when I was working with you at Kent, with good old Evan and everything. And sometimes it did feel like that. They would
Mm,
come and sometimes they wouldn't even buy anything. They just wanted to say hi to us.
yep.
And when I was a young teenager, I like to go to GameStop to talk to Brian. I would just chat up Brian or Kyle and all those guys and just talk. I'm probably bugging the hell out of them, but like I just liked being in that environment.
Yeah.
Around the games, the thing that I love. Like people like to be in libraries for the books. Like it's the same as that principle.
Mm.
But nowadays, I mean, I haven't been to a GameStop in a long time because I don't have a need to buy games as much as I used to. But um, I don't know. What do you feel? I'm sure you've been to other GameStop besides just the one you work at.
Yeah,
What's the change in the environment nowadays?
I would say the environment's the same. You still have like really good stores who know their regulars, who don't push, who push enough to get their numbers, but don't push too much to make everybody feel awkward. That's been the game forever. You've always had stores that push way too much, and then you always had stores that either push just enough to get good numbers, but still have their guests feel welcomed and everything. And then stores that just didn't give a shit, that were just bad numbers stores. Then that's from an internal GameStop view. I still think it's there. Nothing has changed about how we conduct business that would change the atmosphere that good stores pull off. But we'll be talking about why that might be changing, and kind of the future, and what I personally, as an individual, think that it's going to go here. But
Well, I mean, it's good to hear that the employees haven't really changed so far, and I can kind of attest to that. I mean, at the GameStop I do go to, like the guys, they seem nice enough. I don't feel like I can connect with them like I used to with other people in other stores, but they seem nice enough, and they're willing to talk to you if you want to talk to them. I will say though, the stores themselves have changed, and for the worse, in my opinion, because partly because they're just so bare. They're so barren. And if they're not barren, the so much of the store's real estate is taken up, like we said, with collectibles.
mm,
So it feels almost like a kid store, almost like a faux pas Toys R Us kind of thing, because of how just nerd style,
yeah,
just a nerd Toys R Us. And so it's like, if I want to go to Nerd Toys R Us, I'll go to Think Geek, or I'll
which is
go
owned by
online and buy
GameStop.
the yeah, which is on my GameStop. But like I'll go there or somewhere else, right? Like I'm going to GameStop for games, right? In
Yeah,
back in the day, that's what it used to be. And so it's either there's nothing in there, or if there is, there's just nothing but toys and shit. And it's always like, to me, it change. It's not. I mean, I'm sure for kids it's great, and I guess I'm getting older, where it's kind of like, you kind of need to transition out from things and transition to new things. So maybe I'm just no longer the prime demographic, but it's just I can remember. I'm sure people can too. Remember a time where it felt a little more inviting, a little more fun and welcoming for you. Um, but that's just my thing. You might need to wait till you're done there, and then take some time and go back in as a just a regular customer, and then like after like the former employee wears off of you, because when I left, I still kind of had that, right, like, oh,
yeah,
like saying how it used to be, like, oh, I remember this, like, you don't got to tell me about the deals, which I know, I used to work here. Once that fades away though, you actually feel like an actual customer, and you get a different perspective.
yeah. I
um
mean, we'll
but
see
yeah.
if that ever happens with me. I mean, I've been working here for almost 12 years for GameStop,
Hmm.
so like, when it's that long, like, this is the only major job, other than a couple here or there, that I've had, that I've really known. And so, like, it's been my life for 12 years. So I don't know how long that's going to take to, like, GameStop might be gone
We'll
before
see.
I walk into a store and I'm not in store manager mode, just being like, that looks bad, that looks bad. Why is your pitch like that? Why are you badgering the customer? Like, all sorts of stuff. So,
Well, we'll have to see, I guess.
yeah.
But
But
yeah.
on to the
Anyways, so,
questions.
well, actually, hold on.
Okay.
One quick little side thing I think is important to address.
Okay.
I just read today, maybe you saw it too. Few weeks, about a month, actually, it's like our second or third story we did on the podcast. We covered the Blizzard investigation, Activision
Yes.
Blizzard.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard about today, but the SEC, the U.S. Security Exchange Committee,
Mhm.
is now officially investigating
Yep. I heard
Activision
that
Blizzard,
today.
and they've
Yep.
sent subpoenas to the company, and they've also sent a subpoena to a bunch of executives, amongst them Bobby Kotick, their CEO.
Yep.
So this shit is getting real, man. This shit is get. I don't know why the SEC is doing it, because I mean the way they tied it was like super loose, but they're mainly for financial situations.
Yeah.
And they did provide a way why, because I guess they're like thinking, I think they some comments that were made during like financial calls or something like that. They want to get records of that. It's like, okay, I guess that's why they're in. I would
Yep.
imagine some other body of government would have done it, but I guess they're the closest thing. Either way, the federal fucking government is is, is on their ass now, which is hilarious and
Yep.
good coming. Like, this has been a long time coming. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I've always felt that the games industry has been one of the least regulated industries around.
Hmm.
And I think it's always been that way. I don't think we have enough because I don't, and partially because I don't think our government cares, because they still look at it like it's
Yeah,
from the
that's,
70s, like
yeah.
it's just a gaming thing for nerds. It's like, bro, it's a billion-dollar industry. Pay it some attention. Like, it's just, I mean, I'm glad we're starting to see the cracks start to fall. Like, when they try to do the loot boxes, some of our senators in the country have like stood out against it, especially Hawaii. They've been totally against it. And we're seeing it in places overseas where they like Belgium banned it outright. So like to where we actually now have in the US, at least in the boxes, they actually say, that it contains it on the box, which I mean, yeah, it's a small little box, but I mean, hey, that's better than nothing. At least like you could point. At least we can, like, as employees, can point it out and be
Yep.
like, hey, it's right there. But yeah, this has been a long time coming. I hope I I don't know what's going to come of it. It would be great if the pressure is so hard that like Bobby has to go or something, or some major guys have to go. Because one, I can't stand looking at Bobby's face. It's one of the most punchable fucking faces I've
Yeah.
ever seen. Have you seen his
Yeah.
face?
Yeah, no, I
His
saw
little
it today.
fucking smug ass smile. He has one of the
Yeah.
most punchable faces I've ever seen. And secondly, I mean, obviously that like the old saying goes, you got to cut the head off at cut the head off the snake, right? Or whatever that
Mhm.
saying is. You got to cut it
Yeah.
at the head. So I mean, if he's gone, maybe that might bring some change, or some major people are gone. Maybe that might bring change.
We'll see.
I can't say whether way or another, but I wanted to bring it up since we did talk about it, and I felt it was appropriate for us to follow up on that in case people didn't know. Anyways,
Cool.
let's get on with the shit. Anyways, what you playing? What you playing, bro? What you playing?
So this will be a funny one. I have been playing a mobile game
Like,
called,
that's all done this week is a mobile game?
yeah. I've that like any time that I've had outside of school, I've just been playing this mobile game, and it's only been for the last 2 days. And it is called Home Run High. I paid $5 for it,
You
so
paid for it?
it's a paid
You
mobile
better you
game.
better be getting your worth.
I'm having fun. So basically, like
Are there
it is
are there any microtransactions?
none at all.
Okay, good.
None
You
at
better
all.
not. If it's $5
So basically,
to
what it
pay.
is you run a high school, and it's definitely, they
Wait,
don't
you
tell
run a
you, but
high
it's
school?
definitely a high school in Japan, because it's
Because
like,
where else? Because where
because
else?
it has first years, second years, third years, and then they graduate. So it's Japan, but you run a baseball club there, and it's basically an RPG where you like play games, and it's all automated, so it's just like whatever their stats are, kind of, and it's randomized. But then you can train them, and if they play well in the games, they get their stats boosted. And at the end of the year, your third years go away, and you have a ceremony. Everybody cries, and then you get new first years, and you're trying to make the Koshin and playing the Koshin, and win the Koshin. And it's pretty. I'm having fun with it. It's pretty dope.
Do
I'm
do you
enjoying it.
cry when the ceremony comes?
So like I'm literally like I am getting attached to my third years. There's a kid named Tim. Tim is
God damn
our
it, Tim. God
leadoff
damn it,
hitter,
Tim.
and he's been, our first years, they don't really know baseball, and he's been leading the guys. He's hitting 355. He's dude,
I'm
he's
just so glad
carrying us.
I'm
He's
so
balling
glad his
out.
name is I'm so glad his name is Tim.
So his
That's
name
just
is
so it's
Tim.
so perfect.
Yep. And then we got a
Push on,
first
Tim.
year. We got a first year. Andy. Andy's doing great. Andy's gonna be
Oh
killer.
yeah, Andy.
Yeah. Andy's gonna be killer.
you I'm laughing really hard because I just I've known David for a long time, and I know that this is literally his dream game. Like
I'm not
if
all
this
right, no,
was
I'm not gonna lie. I already have ideas how it could be better. Like, so like, all right. So just one idea, right? Okay, so like the high school, so like in the story, the little story there is, this school didn't have enough players until this year. Um, and so like, and then we had 9 people to play. So my idea is the more you win and the more like the team gets popular in the school, then you can start recruiting from like the basketball team or the rugby team. And depending on like what team you recruit from, they have different stats for baseball. So I recruit a rugby player. He's big and bulky, so he's got power. Like that would be so cool. But yeah,
So you're stealing students from other
yeah,
teams.
from other sports. Yeah,
So then you have to like negotiate with the other coaches.
something. I
Maybe
don't know.
maybe bribe them, make it all seedy and everything.
There is money involved. I have a money allowance. It's
Gosh
normally
damn it!
it's normally for like adding different like buildings that give different buffs. But yeah, like I'll like a little tit for tat. Like I trade him maybe one of my freshmen who suck at baseball, but like he'd be good at rugby. Little trade.
Do, does Madden and NBA do they include manager modes in their games?
Like, what do you mean by manager?
You come on, you know what I mean by manager mode or coach mode or whatever you want to call it. Do they include one of those?
So there's options for coaching and managers. Like you can set your lineups. Not really the strategy, unfortunately.
Like you just act you like you're like well I guess NBA is different. Yeah, I mean like I guess owner mode or
Yeah.
whatever.
There's owner modes. Yeah,
I keep forgetting they're not the same
they're
because like
really shallow, but they
in
do have them.
wrestling games there was a GM mode, a general manager mode,
Yeah.
where you literally just become because in the in on TV there is a general manager for the shows, so you become that person and like you start at the draft every year. It starts off with the draft and you compete against like a computer automated other general manager of the other show, and you start off with the draft. You choose like 15 people, whatever. You have like a $10 million budget to start off with, and you have to choose the characters you want or the wrestlers you want. You choose how long you want the contracts to be, things like that. And then once you get your rosters, then you start building matches and storylines, and then you go through a whole year. And then at the end, whoever has the better ratings wins like the GM title of the year. But you can keep redoing it. But I was just wondering if they had something like that because this is basically that. This is coach, owner mode
Yeah,
for your team.
the actual coach and owner modes in any of the major sports games are pretty shallow. As far as like what you can do and like
I
how
do know
much
that
you have involved, but
FIFA though doesn't have. I don't know if they have one in the game, but obviously you probably remember. There is a Football Manager separate title
yeah,
that they had for a few years. I don't think they make it anymore, but they did have it for a good few
they
years.
still
Maybe
do.
they still have it though. Oh, they still do. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, obviously it's big enough going this long. It's still big enough of a thing. So people really like to do that. People really like to be behind the coach. Anyways, I'm glad to hear you're happy, David. I am still playing a God of War. I'm also playing another game concurrently with that called it's another racing game. It's called Ducati. It's a Ducati motorbike game. It's like Ducati 90th anniversary. I don't know if that's the full title, but just playing that. I play that just when I don't want to when I'm watching a YouTube video. I like to multitask because the game's super easy, super simple, but it's super repetitive. But I like racing games. It's a
Trophies.
nice way to shut off the brain, and it has and the trophies are hella easy too. That was just the cherry on top. Um, anyways, yeah, but God of War. So I'm playing more and more of it. Just continuing on. I have trying. Okay, so I have the head. I have Mimir, the head.
Mm-hmm.
And I am now
Best
working my
character.
way to oh yeah. I am working my way to getting the realm key for Jotunheim. I believe is how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
The land of the giants. That's where I'm at so far. I did get the
Jotunheim.
Jotunheim. Yeah, I did get the cipher for Mausoleum, the fire region.
No
The fire
one.
region.
Yeah, not helping.
Yeah,
you there.
no one can say it. Yeah, only people who are actually Norse could probably say it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have unlocked that region. I was doing the trials because it's a trophy, of course, right, to do the trial. But I was just want to do it anyways. I was a little disappointed that that's all that was there was just that. So I'm going through the trials. I do all five. Well, I do both the normal and the hard version for the first five. Get them all done, and then I go to the last one, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's a Valkyrie. So I'm like, already? Like I'm not ready for this. But I was like, let's give it a shot. I got nothing to lose. And I might have taken off maybe a tenth of her health and then died. Yeah. So
They're rough.
saving that for later.
Yeah, they're rough.
Saving that for later. But it gave me at least now I know what I'm up against. So yeah. But anyways, the more I had a realization with God of War as I was playing it during the week. God of War makes me makes me wish. Um, I don't want to say this. The Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart should have been what this God of War is, as far as how much is in it.
Okay, yeah.
Now I understand that was a, I mean, it wasn't a launch title, but it was close to launch, and it was like their really big, known, famous first party IP. I get it. Someone has to be the guinea pig, right? But I imagine the game was in development for a long time, at least 2 years, probably three. So it like now I'm playing God of War, which granted that was in development for 5 years. But since like given that it was on last gen hardware, and I look at that and I'm just like, man. I mean, I already admitted to myself that Ratchet and Clank just barely made a $70 price tag worth it. But now playing God of War makes me even like, man, Ratchet and Clank is thin ice, thin. I like it. Honestly, it probably should have been 65 instead of 70, somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just, yeah, it's just it's so comparing the two, it's so bare bones, and it's not even like you can't even say they're not the same, like because they very much are the same type of game. Yeah, different settings and different mechanics, but like they're both third person action adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's just it just makes me I mean I'm enjoying the hell out of God of War, but it just makes me I had a weird reflection with Ratchet and Clank. I don't even know why it just came into my head, I guess, but I was just like, man, just yeah, I really, and I mean, people, if you go to the Reddit for Ratchet and Clank, people up and down would just be like, yeah, we kind of expect a little bit more from the game. It just people, and some people will say it's not worth $70, like 60, but not 70. And I can see their point. Um, but regardless, God of War has been spectacular. Not that I was, not that I'm surprised, but yeah, it's I'm just, well, the best thing about it is that they're one of those games that mastered constant rewarding for the players, which not every, you would think every game would do that, but a lot of games don't. They keep it way too sparse, and you don't feel like you're making progress or like you're slogging through from point to point. But like and the rewards don't even have to be big. Like just pulling out, just smashing a chest to get some hack silver. That's just the currency. But like every time you find it, it's just like
Yeah,
a little reward. It's a little reward, right? It's just little breadcrumbs, but it keeps you going, and it makes you feel like you're constantly, like every little thing you do is deserving of a reward. So you always feel fulfilled. You're constantly feeling fulfilled, but it kind of makes it kind of addicting to make you not put it down, because you're just like, I want more rewards because I know I'm gonna get it. Like it's not like a maybe I will. It's like, no, I know I will, and I want more of it. Give me more, please. So that's not really a bad thing. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing I can say about it. You just feel a constant sense of reward, constant sense of progression. There's hardly a dull moment, and even when you are kind of like rowing the boat across large parts of the map, a lot of times, uh, Atreus or Mimir will start talking,
yeah.
to
I love
break
those
up the
moments.
monotony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say though, sometimes I honestly feel like Atreus needs to shut the fuck up.
He's
I
a
know
kid
he's
though.
like, I know he's like 10 or 11, and I have to remind myself of that every time, because when I do, I'm like, okay, yeah, it checks out. It makes sense because a 10 or 11-year-old in this crazy vast world they're going into would ask questions all the time, but just as the player who has to hear it, it's almost like you could you maybe cut like 25% of the questions. Like now I'm just like, now I know it's gonna suck when I have my own 10-year-old, because they're not even going to Midgard, and they're still gonna have like 1.5 million questions. Like, oh man. Anyways, game's amazing. Let's move on. We're going to go our final question here, and I will ask you first, David, what your answer is. And it's
Yeah.
going to be back to GameStop theme, going back to GameStop, guys. Sorry we
Yeah.
took a little detour there. But, David, what has been the craziest GameStop moment in your 12 long years working there?
So I have two, and I'll keep them both short because I could talk about one of them probably for an entire podcast. But I'll also go with the less serious one first. It was the the launch of
Destiny.
No. That was fun.
That was awesome.
That was
awesome.
No, but if we're saying interesting or weird or whatever, what was it? Whatever the question was. It was a Pokemon launch. I think it was Platinum.
Oh,
I think it was like the first DS ones.
yeah, that was Platinum. Oh,
Platinum
Diamond and Pearl.
Okay, cool.
No,
So
Diamond Pearl.
Diamond Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Diamond Pearl. If that was the first DS ones, they came with, if you pre-ordered it, while supplies last, they came with statues of
statues. Okay.
Little like figurines of the legendaries. But it was like, I think when it came out, maybe there was like enough for the first like 20 people or something like that. And it was while supplies last, like that's what it was advertised, whatever. So like 2 weeks after the game came out, this lady comes in for a game. I ring up the games, I hand her the games, do all my stuff like, oh, have a good day, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, where's the figurines? I'm like, oh, well, unfortunately, it was first come, first serve. And we ran out the night of. So, unless you were the first 20 in line, unfortunately, nobody.
20?
I think it was 20 or something. It was real limited.
That's it?
It was real limited.
What?
Yeah. I was like, unfortunately, only the first 20 people in line got it, and that was all at the midnight. And she was just like big old like Karen, Karen
it's coming,
face.
It's coming.
She was just like,
it's coming.
She was like, this is only reason I pre-ordered this game at all, and like this is the only reason I'm picking this game up. How could my daughter's gonna freak out? I'm just like,
oh gosh.
I'm just like,
and this is 2010 people. He's like 17 at this time. He's really young.
Like, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. Like, we don't have any. Like, I don't have any to give you. And she was just freaking out at me. And then, like, I even was like, the only reason you bought the entire game was for the statues, like for the figurines. And she was like,
that's the only reason why your daughter wants the game.
Yeah, I was like, and she was just, I just want to return these. I was like, you don't want to play the game? She's like, no, I wanted the figurines. And I'm like,
who's it? What? I'm trying to wonder if the figurines for her. I'm thinking the figurines for the mom.
And the funny thing is, it's like in today, like when the collector phase that we're going through right now, the collecting is huge right now.
Yeah.
It would make more sense today, but collecting wasn't that big back then. So that was crazy. Whatever. So I
just don't understand the logic. It's like
there is no logic.
Does she legit? I know, but
she's like Karen.
How does her daughter not think she doesn't want? Like, her daughter wants to play Pokemon. Like, that's ridiculous. How would you say the statue? Like, I want the statue. I don't want the game. Who? What? Makes no fucking sense. All right, cool. So you had a Karen moment before those were cool.
Yes.
Anyway,
and then the serious one is that I was robbed at gunpoint. The whole like stereotype.
You couldn't do that one. I told you not to do that one.
Why?
Because I'm gonna do one like that.
Well, you can tell yours.
I don't think I'm just I'm doing a cop out because you did it.
It's not a cop out. It's a different story.
You already said it. Just go ahead.
Anyway, I was robbed at gunpoint, like the whole like classic, ski mask, gun.
Wait, I forgot there was a ski mask involved.
Yeah, it was a ski mask. Because like the funny thing is, I remember. So I was putting away DS cases. That's how old this happened. Like we were still having DS cases on the wall.
Way back.
I was back. I was in high school. I was a junior in high school. I'm putting DS cases on the wall. It's like probably 10 minutes till close. And I hear the door and I go to turn. And the first thing I think is, what the fuck is this guy doing with a ski mask over his face? Like, I'm like, it was probably like September. I was like, yeah, it's September, but it's not that cold. And then then he pulls out the gun and sticks it in my face, and I'm just like, oh.
I see where we're going with this.
I get it. That makes sense. That's a reason.
All right. I know what happens next. Okay.
That's reasonable attire for your job. I get it. But like, and so that was kind of like the theme of the whole night was just, I was just in shock because like, I wasn't thinking the way I should have been thinking. So like, when the guy was like pointing a gun at me, I was thinking, that gun looks fake. Like that was my thought. And then, or when he was like, give me games, put games in the bag. I'm just like, what kind of games do you want?
He robbed for gate. I mean,
well,
all
he
right,
was
just go.
getting getting tills and stuff too. But I was just like, what kind of games do you want? And he's like, I don't give a fuck. Put whatever games in there. And I'm just like, this motherfucker's getting Brink. And I just grabbed like the whole stack of like the whole stack of Brinks, and I just gave him like 50 Brinks, and I was like, joke's on you, motherfucker.
Okay, hold on. We need some context. We need some context for that. None of us can understand why. If you do remember, shout out to you. So Brink, for everyone who doesn't remember or doesn't know, was a PS3 360 game back in like 2009.
Ahead of its time.
It was ahead of its time in the way of bullshit. It was. I mean, okay. Technically, I heard there
two kind of ahead of its time.
There were some single player objective mission
bots.
things you could do. I heard, yeah. It's like technically the single, but generally it was pretty much an online only game. Back in 2009,
it was literally Titanfall before Titanfall, like the first one, Titanfall 1. Yeah. It was parkour. You could wall run.
Yeah. It was,
and vault over things. And it was an online.
It was mainly an online thing. But was there a campaign? But it had to be just people be playing online.
It was a campaign, but basically it was just the multiplayer maps with bots, which is exactly what Titanfall was.
So. Okay. Well, anyway, so it's mainly an online competitive shooter game, but it had like a more anarchy flavor to it, like a anti-establishment type of thing. That was like the setting it was going for. It did terrible. It did like terrible.
This game hit $5 in like a month.
So fast. Every game retailer or every retailer that sold games had just if you have memories of seeing, like, no matter what store and no matter what country either, if you have memories of going to any store that sold games, they saw a bunch of light blue cases in a row. That was most likely
we're talking like
that they never sold. Yeah, like just
full of Brink on one console.
Stacks.
Like I probably had like 80 for the Xbox.
It was a case of like they probably overestimated demand and it overproduced the copies, and then no one bought it because it sucks, and then all the stores were left with all these games, and so they couldn't sell them. Of course, they had to discount them. Even at $5, people weren't buying that shit. It was a garbage game. So kudos to David for giving
somebody
that
got him.
But someone took him, and it was that robber.
And he probably didn't even want him.
Well, yeah, he probably wouldn't even want one, let alone 50 of them.
But then, and then the last thing that was kind of like scatterbrained David in that moment is that he told me to put the money in the bag, and we have whole till drawers, right? And so I just took the whole motherfucking till drawer and put it in the bag. And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Did he tell you? Yeah. I remember that.
What the fuck are you doing? And I was just like, putting the money in the bag. And my ASL was like, David, he means just the bills. Take the bills out of the cash drawer and put those in the bag. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So that's pretty heavy.
Not only is the ASL being robbed, now he's being embarrassed because his coworker can't even put money in a bag at gunpoint, right?
Yeah,
now you hit rock bottom when you're getting embarrassed in front of a robber.
So that was that. It was
all right,
dramatic, but
okay. Well, it's
funny now.
It should have been dramatic, but we made it completely undramatic. Yeah. So mine was the same. I got robbed. My store got robbed. Not at gunpoint, but it got robbed. And that's honestly the craziest thing that's happened to me. Because I ended up becoming what's technically called a fourth key, just a backup, just in case no one can like open or close the door. I was that guy for a while, and then I became a third key, but I only did that for like the last year of my time there. So I didn't work as much as he did while I was there. But so I didn't have like a whole lot of altercations with customers. I had one occasion with a guy who wanted to return a game that was past the date, and he tried to give me shit for it, and I stood my ground, and he just walked away. I was like, cool. Anyway, but yeah, my first year working at GameStop as a seasonal hire back in my original store with Brian. But I was working with Kyle at the time. Hi Kyle, if you ever see this. Some dude walks in and he looks shady AF, bro. Like just he had a big old trench coat, like watchdog style trench coat, which that's like the telltale sign for like we need to watch this motherfucker. And then I think he had glasses on, he had a hat on, like some kind of fedora style hat, but he was just walking way too, he had just a walk. He wasn't walking normal. He wasn't looking around normal. He wasn't talking normal or nothing, right? Just nothing. And this is how far back. This is when we still had big electronics on the wall, not behind the counter, but on the wall. That's how far back we're talking here when we actually did that before we realized that's a dumb thing to do. And we had an
A.
iPad. Yeah, example A, exhibit A. So he asked. I was working with a customer, and then Kyle was probably. I think he was probably still. He probably just watching him anyways. And then the guy asked to see an iPad, which we had on the wall, and managers usually only had those keys. So he does it, and he's Kyle's outside the counter. Oh, he's inside the counter behind the counter. The dude's on the other side. They're looking whatever. And then I'm with the customer, and then out of corner of my eye, just boom, dude dashes out the store, just boom, just out there with trench coat flying and everything. He was out that door. Granted, he was right next. He was also right next to the door, which made it super easy. But what I remember though is that he took it, and I think Kyle, in his moment of adrenaline and all that stuff, motherfucker hopped the counter. And this is not a small guy. He's not your frame. He is at the time, now he's like super fit. He like does marathons and shit. But back then he was a bigger dude. And he was probably 250 at least. Motherfucker hopped the counter and just took off. He didn't get the guy though, but I just remember him. I heard a loud thud. His knee hit the counter as he jumped it.
And that's why you don't jump the counter.
And I knew. I was like, oh, his knee. He's gonna be feeling that tomorrow. But he came back after some time. Like he left me in the store by myself and that's how fast, like this speed, spur of the moment. And so he came back empty-handed. I think he might have called the police, or at least called Brian, the manager at the time. But like I was there for a little while. It was just me and the fucking customer just staring at each other, like, yeah. So I'm gonna bring you up, and you can go.
Would you like a pro card?
Yeah. Do you want to get a warranty on that game, sir? Yeah. So
that was before.
That was awkward. That was awkward as hell. For me, with the customer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, I came back. I once came to my shift right after you got done chasing somebody down.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's like I have a very similar story to that story.
You caught the guy, and then you realized after you came back, I should have not have done that at all.
It was. We won't get on that. Hey, what I will say is, if you guys want to hear more GameStop stories, which I have a ton,
yes, so many.
Let us know in the comments below. They're all pretty good. It would be a lot shorter video, just stories of David or something like that. And
we could just have bedtime GameStop stories with David.
Yeah, and I can tell you all sorts of shit.
Oh man, if only we had a way to I don't know how to do it. Maybe someone might be able to help us figure out like a live stream style. Just bedtime stories with GameStop stories with David to be a live stream, and I'm just like listening in or what. I don't know.
Let us know if you want to hear more of my GameStop stories because they're all pretty good.
Yeah, let him know down below. So, anyways, the main thing. So David wanted to talk about GameStop today. I asked him what he wanted to do, and he wanted to talk specifically about the hiring problems with GameStop. Yeah. Now, most times when you see GameStop bash videos, because they're plentiful on YouTube, usually they talk, the gimmies, the trade policy, their pro cards, just the
selling culture, stuff like that.
Yeah, that shit, which
we can talk about.
Absolutely.
But not right now.
All valid. But I think this might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't even know what he's going to talk about. I want to hear what David has to say about their hiring I mean, I'm sure there are problems. So let's hear them. What have you been seeing?
So I will say this first off. I'm in Texas now, so this might be anecdotal to not only just Texas, but to my specific region, my specific district. But we are at like this critical mass of we are losing people for various reasons, and we cannot seem to find not only just good applicants, but applicants at all. And the kind of reason why we're coming into that, at least why I think we are, is you have a lot of companies, bigger companies, Walmart, Target, Chipotle, Taco Bell. All of these companies are paying their new hire employees, their low rung, just hired, minimal staff, like $15 an hour. Some are a little bit under, like 30.
In your state?
In my state,
That's some good money
that's
over in Texas.
that's some crazy money, and I will get
That's some
we'll,
good money.
and we'll get to how crazy it is in comparison to
God
GameStop.
damn.
In comparison to GameStop for in a second, but some are like 13, some are 15, 14, 15, whatever. But anyway, in that
What's your state minimum?
range,
Do you know? What's your state minimum?
7.75.
You're at 7. What is that? Is that the federal?
It's like 25 cents above federal,
That's it.
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I feel like I gotta pack my bags and move to Texas. I'm gonna be a millionaire over in Texas. Hot damn!
I mean, and as economics go, we both know this. It's price of living is a lot cheaper down here. So you don't necessarily like. I think it should be. This is a whole nother topic. I think it should be more than that, more than what we're paying minimum. But I mean, it doesn't. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Well, okay, but you have to look at relativity. I understand what you're saying, but you gotta look at things relative though. If it's still, I mean, that's still the federal, and as known, the federal is poverty.
It has been
no matter where you live.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7 doesn't hurt as much in Texas as it does in here in Washington, but that's still
it's still bad. But anyway, so you have all these places who you can get hired brand new and be making, let's say, even $13 an hour. But a lot of places like Target
that's double
is
double.
Yeah, is 15. And we hire in Texas. GameStop gives $8 for new people. $8 for new people, for GAs for new people. New SGAs are $9.
Well, we should get some context.
SGA
GA is Game Advisor.
Yeah.
GA is Game Advisor. That's
Low
your
rung.
low level, your regular employee.
SGA is like
Senior Game Advisor.
like shift manager. Like
Senior Game Advisor, third manager, like a PIC, more or less, like a person in charge.
A day shift manager, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
ASLs, which is assistant store leaders, their minimum, this one I'm less, because like, I don't deal with that as much, but I think it's like, I want to say it's 11 something, 11, 12 something, somewhere along those lines. And then manage. So what I made, I can't speak for everybody. What I made, which was just above minimum for store leaders, is $16.50 per hour. So me, as an SL, and not to brag, but also to brag, as one.
He's shit. He's not good. He was terrible as an SL. I can attest to it personally.
As a better than competent SL, I was getting
fucking suck.
paid $16.50 an hour. $1.50 more an hour than just working at Target as a cart pusher.
Or Taco Bell.
Just
a drive-through.
As a drive-through guy.
Worker.
That's the problem we're running into. Like we ask our employees to do a lot. We ask them to sell cards. We ask them to have great customer service. We ask them to sell warranties. We ask them to get reservations. We ask them to do a lot. And to do that and to do that well, you need people skills. You need to be able to communicate. Some sales experience or knowing how sales interactions work is not required, but is something that we would look for. driven, hardworking, competitive. All of these high sought after work
Damn,
skills
how'd I get a job? Oh no, I already started working there.
that
I got half of those
that
things.
can fit that all jobs are looking for. Um, as not just minimal stuff, but as an extra stuff, as in would be A plus applicants. We look for pretty much just as a bare minimum. Like I wouldn't hire anyone who I wasn't hardworking, who I didn't think had communication skills, who I didn't think I could teach sales techniques to. As a hirer, I wouldn't have hired anyone who didn't have those things. Um, where those things are just plus attributes anywhere else. So basically my point is that we just don't have applicants anymore because one, anybody pretty much, as long as you have availability, can go to Target or somewhere else and get $15 an hour. We're only paying $8 an hour for our bare minimum people. But we can't get people to even show up for interviews. We call people, say, hey, are you still looking for a job? They're like, yeah, absolutely. What does it pay? $8 an hour. Oh yeah, no, I'm good. Like we can't get people to come in for interviews practically. And when we do, they're not great applicants. You'll get an exception every now and then. I just worked with a kid at one of these stores. He's a really good kid, high skill. I think he's going to be really good. He was hired as an SGA, and he'll be really good. So you get those one-offs. But in my opinion, and what has happened in the past, is if he's offered another job anywhere else, which he, in my opinion, could absolutely get another job somewhere else that pays more, we'll lose him out of the blue. He'll give us 2 weeks, if that, and he's gone. So in 12 years, I've never been in a position where every single one of the stores in my district are low staffed. We have one store that has 2 employees trained, and then every other store has at least 2 key positions not filled, either an SGA position or also a GA also missing. So not only do stores just not have enough staff to get every shift filled consistently, you can't even go to another store and borrow someone because they're having the same issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my main big issue. That's what I want to talk about, and it's partly this is a whole different conversation with like what should minimum wage be? Should we raise it nationwide in the U.S. to $15 an hour? Should it be less? Whatever. But my point is, at least that I'm trying to make with GameStop, is I cannot see us, in my area at the very least, maintaining the quality that they expect in stores or people in store at all without raising wages across the board. We're just at a critical mass here of we're just out of talent. And GameStop for a long time, their kind of motto, because we've always not been up par with like what we ask them to do and what we pay them. Like there's always been a gap there because we've always asked, as you can attest, RJ, we've always asked them to do a lot. Like not only do you have to sell all these things, but I need you to sell them at a good mark. Like, Target has their Target card, but I think their success rate is, I was talking to my sister, I think is like 5%. Like that's their goal for their success rate on their Target card. And our card, that's $15. It's not even like it's $15. And their Target card is free. When we were there, it was like what, 12% when you were working with us?
It varied.
Yeah.
It was
So
always a new number
so
you told
like
me.
we asked them to sell a card that's $15 that honestly I believe is worth it if you're going to be shopping with GameStop. But we're asking them to sell a $15 card and get 15%. And then we're asking you to sell warranties and get 30 to 50%. And then we're asking you to sell reservations and get 10 to 15%. And we're going to pay you $8 an hour or $9 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is some good insight hearing it from the inside out because most people, I would argue, probably most people probably talk shit looking from the outside in, which is a lot easier, right?
Mm.
Um, but I feel, given you and I have actually worked there for an extended period of time, we can both attest to that, particularly with price. I will say, here's the thing too: you can't even really say, "Oh, COVID," right? COVID, this was shit before COVID ever reared its head, right?
Yes.
You worked there for 12 years. I worked there for 5. Um, and I left my last, I think I stopped working in 2016. So I was there from all of college, pretty much all of college, basically, and a little short stint after that because I was in a bind. Um, and there was, as far as like realizing, like, you know, I could get paid this shit and get, you know, told up, down, up and down what to do. I can go work somewhere way easier for more money because they value the essential service I'm providing for people or for that company, right? When I got promoted to, I think, third key, if not fourth key, if not maybe third key, and there was a GA who we had. I remember Audrey.
Yes.
I don't know if I should probably say her name. Forget I said that name. Anyways, um, she was our GA. I had moved up. I got paid. And, oh yeah, it was a fourth key, but I was like transitioning to closing and stuff. But I hadn't really became a third key officially yet. But I was basically acting third key. Um, my pay was $1 more than hers, just $1, and I worked probably 3 times the hours she did. And of course, I'm under way more responsibility than she is. Um, and so we like looked at it. Even she laughed about it because she realized how ridiculous that was, right? And that's in Washington. Um, and I can also say, yeah, like I mean, at the time, I think the minimum was 11. So I mean, yeah, I'm closer to the minimum. Um, oh wait, no, how's that possible? You have to be the minimum. What was I? No, minimum must have been lower than at the time. I don't think
Whatever
we
it
had gotten to
was.
11 yet. I was not much higher than minimum, and yeah, but I remember I was just $1 less than her, and we both laughed about it. And so, as far as like the disparity between the wages and what they want you to do and your positions, yeah, it's way out of whack. But I can also say, it's funny you're bringing up people not wanting to work and not being able to find people because I don't know how much you've been looking into it, but so I'm into macroeconomics naturally. I'm a
Mm.
business major, and there's been a huge, not just with GameStop, a
Yeah.
huge issue with the job market as a
Yep.
whole, particularly with these with the younger Gen Zers and to some extent us millennials, to where we are just leaving places in droves. We don't give a fuck about like company loyalty and other things like our boomer, the boomers care about and the Gen X people cared about, or Gen X. We do not care nowhere near as much if we don't feel that we're being paid or treated what we feel like what we think we should be. We are deucing right out of there, no questions asked. Because my mom works at Safeway, and she tells me stories all the time about like these people coming in, and just not caring or not like. And I mean, but like Safeway, I imagine I don't think Safeway. I mean, this is a side thing, but I don't think Safeway pays much more above minimum either. So it's like if you're gonna pay just minimum, you're gonna get like what you're paying for. You know what I
So,
mean?
a funny aside right now when we're on Safeway. So Safeway owns the grocery retailer here in Texas called United.
Okay.
United is giving a $200 signing
Signing
bonus.
bonus. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, well, that's great for them. But I don't know what the minimum is, like their hourly rate.
yeah,
But
I
that's
don't
still,
know.
I mean, that's still better than nothing, right? Um,
Yeah,
and now when we talk about Chipotle and Taco Bell, particularly, everyone knows the food industry has just been destroyed with COVID.
mm,
They've been hit probably the hardest, and every especially fast food restaurants or fast casual restaurants are just they are so desperate. They're doing signing bonuses. They have been raising the wages for the employees because they like They need them so bad, and so they've actually pivoted their their hiring practices and strategies, and actually have like it's going to suck to take on this extra cost, but we need it. We need to get people in to hire them. I mean, this is what we have to do. And GameStop, I know they probably don't have the funds, but still, like they've never though have adapted to to having
Well,
standard wages for
and
for what they ask
and so
of their
what I
employees.
was going to transition to is that for years, for all the 12 years I've ever been in GameStop, the main thing that like DLs, which is like the
The
leaders
district
of the
leaders,
district,
yeah, the
would
district
say,
managers.
yeah, would say is, well, GameStop, people want to work for GameStop. That's where people want to work when they're high schoolers. Like, so they want to work for us. So we just need to go out and find the people who want to work for us. So that kind of mantra
Is that
has
still the
been
mantra?
there. It's still the mantra.
Really?
But
That's still the accepted mantra amongst like. Does your DO believe in that still?
I haven't heard my DL say that, but I've heard it less, like maybe just a year ago.
Okay.
So that used to, like, it's always been an excuse of why we don't pay as well as you know X place, because, oh well, they have to pay that much because people don't want to work for them, but they want to work for us, so that's why we don't pay that much. Like, that's been the excuse the whole time. And back in the day, it was there,
It was
like,
true. It
it
was
was
true.
true.
I did. I did.
Yeah,
I did. That was
yeah,
like I like as soon as I was 18, that was the first place I applied to.
yeah,
And I got it. And I made sure that I would show up and ask about working there before I was able to turn
yeah,
18. And then they did, and they were like, "Yeah, absolutely."
yeah. It was.
That was definitely there was some truth to that mantra
It's
10
yeah,
years ago.
it's true. It's true. It was true then. But and then I think you'll attest to this. When you got into GameStop and actually started working, you were like, "Oh, this isn't exactly what I thought it was."
Not right away. I was
Okay,
still so happy to be around. Like you guys know, like when people,
the
there's
industry.
bookworms. There's
Yeah,
bookworms. Like I'm a gaming worm, if you want to call it. That's not even a word, but whatever. I was just so happy to be in that environment,
me
like
too. That
for an
was me
extended
too.
period of
Yeah,
time. So it did take some time for that to wear off. It
and I
wasn't until
will.
I got to Kent. When I got to Kent, things kind of
And
changed.
then I ruined everything for you.
Yes. No, like when I started trying to like ask like, hey, can I get more involved? Trying to get the manager experience. Obviously, that shit gets more real, and you start seeing the other side of GameStop. Is no more. It's just rose tinted glasses anymore. And when you get your DLs breathing down your neck, and you can just totally see the disconnect between your district managers and actually being in a store. Like I know Evan hated it. I hated it. I'm sure you hated it too. When like your DM would show up, and they're here for like a couple hours sometimes, and it just they just make it seem like it's so easy to do all this shit. And I'm sure that's probably the case with any retail store. Your higher ups come and visit, and then they tell you this as if it's the easiest thing to do without thinking about any of the variables involved. It's not just a fucking just keep grinding at it till you push through. There's a lot of more factors involved, and then they'll even have your GAs who work 3 hours in a shift, sometimes just once a week, and they're like, "Oh, well, I think you should be getting those numbers up. And those are 3 hours. You can do a lot in those 3 hours." It's like, bitch, like they gotta put games away, and we don't even want them near the register.
Yeah. So,
Like,
like,
just like, come on.
and real quick, to defend, not defend GameStop, but not say just bad things about him. I will say I am happy that I've worked for GameStop for 12 years. I would much rather have worked for GameStop, how I did for 12 years, than in almost any other industry. Like, I would not have liked to work in fast food industry for 12 years. That would have been hell. I worked at Safeway for a little bit, and although it was okay, I definitely enjoyed my job more at GameStop. So, like, and I think as long as you have a good manager who knows how to manage people, and make the environment as welcoming and fun as is possible, while also maintaining, because the balance with the GameStop is the manager has to balance his staff and their mood, which is things like not getting too down on them about their bad performances, making the environment still fun, stuff like that, and then also not also caring enough about numbers so the DL isn't making his life hard, so then he has to make his guy's life hard. Um, but if you get a good manager who does that, it's enjoyable.
Bro, that's the
We had
case. That's the
fun.
case for any place,
True.
anywhere.
We had fun at GameStop.
We
I feel like
but you have to think of the general populace. You can't put in like,
yeah,
if this happens, then it's okay, because of
yeah.
course that's the case.
I would
I
say
will
there's
I will say
probably
that
more bad managers than there were good managers.
if you go to that subreddit page on GameStop,
It would seem that
that's
way.
all you need to know. um, and yeah, even though people are always going to be saying the shit when they're really pissed off, but I mean, come on, like there's so much. I mean, I will still agree with you. If I had to choose any retail store to work at, yes, GameStop probably would have been the best because it is the most lax as far as like you can wear jeans, you don't have to shave, and for me that is that is really nice because like I
Pretty
worked.
flexible for hours as long
I
as
will
your
say it is kind
manager's
of
also
flexible.
cool.
It is pretty flexible as long as you're kind of cool with with the manager, or as long as you have enough
Not for the
staff.
manager. I've had the that's a whole another thing, but
Oh yeah, if you're a manager, it's a little bit harder. Yeah, I ran into that even as a third key. Yeah, I ran into that too. But yeah, it's not so bad. Trying to get like days off or whatever. And yeah, of course, I mean, like if you truly do love games, it is good to kind of because then you get to see all types of games you might not have heard of. You get to kind of keep them back in your mind, like, oh, maybe I should play that one day. You can check out games, you
yeah,
know,
there's lots
which
of
is
benefit.
all which is
To,
fine. But the thing is,
to get back on track,
that pay,
the pay has just never. It's like I'm not going to argue that what GameStop argues and that all those benefits are worth the pay not being up there.
and it's like
I
because the
don't.
thing,
I don't think it is. I think you should have all that shit and also get paid for the job that you do. And the other thing too that I want to get into is things like raises. So managers have not had a raise in 2 years, and
besides
that
the
was
like the mandatory general one that you have that you're supposed to get,
I don't think I even got that.
I
I
don't think
don't.
I got,
I
I
don't.
don't think
I
I
don't.
got that.
I don't.
I don't.
I don't think I got that.
I
We got
I didn't get it.
we got a bonus instead of a raise, and that did not go
How
over well.
how much was that? Like
Like
$25?
no, it was like $400 or something like that.
Oh, okay. At least it was something.
It was something. Anyway, like um, so let's say that I was a really good store leader, which I believe I was at least above average. Don't
I don't know
you
about that.
fucking
I don't know. I
shut
don't know
up.
about that.
Don't sully my good name. Anyway, so I can be performing very 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 well, and that like
Yeah,
there are some things that I can like especially now they have like little like incentives that you can get paid extra, and it's cool. Like I'm glad they added it, but at the end of the day, my raise doesn't depend that much as it should about my performance. And the last 2 years, it hasn't mattered at all. But as an ASL and SGA and GA, it almost doesn't matter at all. Like besides you getting promoted, it doesn't matter what your numbers are. Like you could be outperforming another SGA and like be doubling his money, his numbers, and he could be getting paid more because he's been there longer. Like
yeah, something like
it
yeah,
doesn't
something
matter.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's just and
yeah,
it's finally coming. The gap has grown so large, at least in my area, that it just doesn't matter anymore. Like yeah, you could have kids that want to work for GameStop, but they also could be getting paid $7 more an hour.
yeah. The big thing
What
is
one
that
are they gonna choose?
the biggest thing, because like you said, I mean, the biggest thing go back to what I said about I mean, because you're most likely going to be hiring young 20-year-olds, right? That's
Mm,
just what you're most likely going to go for, and they're getting smarter. They're realizing their worth, and they're
mm,
they're finally taking a stand where we didn't, and people before us didn't, and just was like, okay, yeah, I'm around games. Yeah, I could check out a game. Yeah, I can have all these intrinsic benefits, but it's like, how's that going to help me if I'm like a college student or if I'm like actually on my own? That's not going to help me. Help pay my rent, pay any bills, have any kind of spending money. And we all both know their benefits are fucking garbage too. Like their actual benefits are garbage. No one like signs up for those unless you are desperate. You get it, but otherwise you don't even get it. Um, so it's like they're finally realizing. If there's anything good about Gen Zers, it's the fact that they're realizing their self worth when it comes to the job market, and they're not willing to take it. And GameStop doesn't. They don't seem to realize it. That's just what they don't care. If you're not going to pay me what I need to be paid to have an okay life, I don't want to be with you. I don't have to. Especially now, yeah, with all these other jobs realizing that like they're trying to give work to their employees and actually treat them fairly. Yeah, if they're gonna do it, I'm gonna go to someone who's gonna fucking treat me better. Like
Yep.
it's like duh.
So as we wrap this thing up, because me and RJ could go over this for another hour, but what two things? One of two things has to happen with GameStop, in at least again in my area, and I don't think that either one of them is going to happen. One, and the one I think that should happen, the one I would choose is that they pay their employees more. So I'm talking base pay at least like I
10.
say 10, but 10 is not enough still. But I would say, okay, let's do 10. So 10 for them, 10 for GAs, 12 to 13 for SGAs, 15 for ASLs. And again, at $15 an hour for what we are asking an ASL to do is so much, like astronomically so much more than if you worked at Target. Like to the point where ASLs, even if you're off clock, you're still worrying about work because you're intrinsically involved in the numbers of the store.
Oh yeah. Go to any subreddit. I've seen so many stories when people talk about just how stressed they are, how much anxiety they get. Like they said like their spouses or their partners have to like legit calm them down because they're just like they go home and they're just like I just can't stop thinking about it.
Exactly. Like my wife is great about it. But when I was an SL, I would come home and I'd have to detox. I'd have to like go play video games for a little bit, which she was great with. But she, that took away from her time with me. So she made that sacrifice. I also, as an SL, and this accounts for ASLs too, I sometimes would get home and get 5 calls throughout the rest of the day because the SGAs had questions or the GAs had questions, and that's fine.
I had questions.
They need,
I had the questions.
I want them to call me about that because I don't want them to not call me and then I have to deal with it the next day when it's a bigger problem. So that's fine.
Oh gosh.
Sometimes I would have to, on my off day, go in and cover a shift because
like today?
Like today, I had to do that. And that's just something. So like again, ASL's getting paid $15 an hour, still not enough for what they're asked to do. Because you can go push cards at Target for $15 an hour. But I just like my GameStop brain just cannot fathom paying an ASL more than $15 an hour. Like that's
especially in Texas.
That's mind blowing to me. Like as a longtime GameStop person who understands how the company works, I'm just like, that's too much money. That's too much money.
The bottom line, I can't take it. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So like, and then that's not even like getting then to the SLs.
Yeah, I was saying you didn't even mention the store managers.
like
that has to be 18, 20 at least.
And that's $20 at least an hour. And that's money. Like again, as my GameStop brain goes, that's astronomical.
Yes,
that is unheard of. That like you might as well make me a millionaire. Like that's the kind of like stress that even like I literally my heart is beating faster because of the stress I am under saying those numbers.
So, God damn it! Here's the thing.
That's the
Texas,
mindset we're working with.
He's talking Texas because those would be huge number of jumps. That would be crazy here in Washington, where the minimum. Well, in Seattle, the minimum
It's
is
15.
15. But everywhere else, it's 11, I believe, or 13. I don't know if they raised. They've been trying to get it to 13. I don't know where it's at right now, but it's at least 11.
Yeah.
That would still be a crazy amount of money. Okay, so if you had like the SLs, or sorry, GAs make, let's say 12, SGAs will make
13.
14, 13, 14.
13 $1 more.
SLs will make will go to your 15. If you're not in Seattle, if you are, if we'll keep Seattle out of this. Everywhere around Seattle, let's say they get 15 to 16, and then SLs 20. Yeah, I can't see that happening here either. And we're like the third or like I don't know, somewhere in the top 5 highest minimums in the country, and they still wouldn't put it that high. Which obviously with that gap being even smaller here than it would be in Texas, they still wouldn't do that.
So
That would still be crazy.
That's the way it should happen. The other thing, and again, equally not going to happen, and I don't think this is the right answer, but just lower expectations. Like, if you're going to have me hire people at $8 an hour, what does that get me? That gets me someone who greets
Once
people.
$8.
That gets me someone who greets people at the door, who checks people out. That's not paying for someone who asks for subscription for pure cards or asks for warranties, like, or anything. And I'm not even talking like ask for it, like, well. I'm talking ask for it or ask for
At
it
all.
not well at all.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
At all. Like, that doesn't even pay for a. Do you want to sign up for a pro card? That doesn't even pay for that.
Not even.
Like,
you're not even at that tier yet.
You're not even at that tier yet. SGA's at $9 or $10 an hour. That pays for. Would you like to get the pro card? You get a $5 coupon every month. That's what that pays for.
Yeah.
So just lower your expectations. If that's what you're going to pay for, lower expectations. If that's what it is, 5% pure, 10 to 15% GPGs, which hurts my heart because I get 50 to 70% GPGs.
No, he doesn't.
I do.
No, he doesn't.
I absolutely
He's
do.
all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Shut your dirty fucking mouth.
He's never had 50% in his life.
That's a lie.
Not even with his penis. It always stays at half chub.
Anyway, so that's what we're dealing with, and I don't know. They just had managers conference. Their regional breakout was today, which is like their big meeting with their region. I don't think it would have been announced in that one, maybe since pay is regional. But I think none of my contacts messaged me, so I don't think anything important happened. So I don't think they changed anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you essentially are paying for minimum work, you're going to get a minimum output. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. I mean, it's always been the case.
And literally, and what I'm worried with is like not only just minimum output. I'm just talking output at all. Like, we're at the point where we don't have bodies in the store.
Yeah, you're not even getting bodies. I mean,
we're not even getting bodies in the store. Yeah,
they just don't get anybody. I mean, if that's what you're only willing to give, you're not going to get much. I mean, that's just a fact. Not just with this. I mean, with anything. If you give the minimum, that's what you're going to get is minimum or less. So, this is. I mean, GameStop's never going to see this, so we're not going to be like, yeah, GameStop, listen to us. We want to just get some grievances out.
If it gets to GameStop, like, because like I'm still technically employed there. Like, I'm gonna be given my 2 weeks here soon, but like,
you hear that, GameStop? 2 weeks, you're gonna lose your best employee.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whatever. Like, fuck it, fire me. Like, you need to hear this stuff. Like, and not just be like, oh, Reddit's a dumpster fire. Don't go on Reddit. Like, they literally tell us to not go on Reddit because man. It's just negative people there, which I agree, but it's there for a reason.
If you guys want to hear more of this shit, I would like to get into like a whole thing about how they handled COVID, because that also plays a part. Plays a part into how, like, why everyone's gone. Because they pushed.
If you want more GameStop videos,
they pushed a lot of people out of how they handled the COVID last year in 2020. But anyways, let us know what you guys think of this. I know this was our longest podcast yet, but it makes some sense. This is GameStop, and we both worked there.
And not only just like on GameStop, but if you're working for an employer that's doing similar bullshit, or that you feel is similar bullshit,
let us know.
or whatever, let us know.
You want to talk about it, let me know.
Love to talk about it.
Want to talk about it, let me know. I can try to get you on the show. We can talk. We can share pains. They say misery enjoys company, right? That's why we're friends. Anyways, with that, guys, thank you. If you stuck around this whole time, major kudos to you. We greatly appreciate you. You listen to us just babble on forever. But if you watch any of this, thank you very much. We appreciate it nonetheless. If you guys like this and want to see more, consider subscribing. We put these podcasts out every Sunday, or we try to. If not with us two. If not with us two. If not with us two, it's me with like a special guest of some kind. What do you want to say, David?
No, I'm just kidding. I won't do the whole girlfriend thing. If you have someone who you know works for GameStop or EB, share this video with them. See what they think about it.
Yeah, let them know if they had the same problems or the same issues, or you heard.
Yeah.
If you know someone else who wants to talk about GameStop, I'm sure David will definitely jump on and talk to them about GameStop if they want to have an interview or something.
And I've been very negative because this is a negative topic about GameStop, but I am somewhat, and RJ knows this, I am somewhat of a GameStop apologist because there's other stuff I can talk about. But if you want that video, we can talk. We can do another GameStop video. He's my history of GameStop.
He's a battered husband that keeps coming back for more. That's the way to describe David and GameStop. Oh, anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, throw a like up if you enjoyed the video. Comment below, whatever you want to say. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you guys.
Goodbye.